Hi everyone, welcome to Truth is One. My name is Alanna, and today I would like to discuss a few very important topics that people have a lot of questions about. And so I'm going to be talking about the history of plant medicines and the cultures that they originally came from, and how that relates to meditation and sadhana, and why meditation and sadhana practices are essential for anyone that is working with plant medicines or using psychedelic assisted therapies. So at a certain point in history, plant medicines were only available to their native countries. So in those native areas, indigenous communities were working with medicine, and a lot of times it was only the shamans or the healers of the villages who were using these medicines, and they were living in environments that were very isolated. They were in uninterrupted connection with nature, and oftentimes they were engaging in very serious spiritual austerities, including dieta, which means diet, where they were fasting and they were in periods of silence, and they were isolated from their communities. And so these contexts of being in nature and also being isolated, being in silence, all of these things, especially without all of the confusion and the distractions of modern life, this created a very meditative state as the foundation that these people were using when they were using these medicines. They had this state innately, just because of their lifestyles. And so with the globalization of plant medicine, there are so many of us who have access to these medicines, but we are in a completely different cultural context. We are in the West, and many of us are very busy with so many things demanding our attention, and we are becoming distracted very easily. And so, but we might work all week long, and then we have the opportunity to participate in a ceremony or work with plant medicine. But we have been, because of the globalization of our world, we are no longer living in that kind of context of meditative state as our foundation. And so that is part of the reason why meditation is essential to working with these plants, is because it was always a part of the lineage. But now that we have access, it's a different time, and so we need to actively cultivate these practices. And I would like to also speak about India and the traditional lineages of yoga and meditation, and also how that relates to plant medicine. So in ancient times, there were yogis and rishis and sages and sadhus living in caves, and again, very isolated places, deep in nature, completely cut off from society and anywhere else, and they were also reaching very deep states of meditation. And they developed systems of yoga and various practices that then they distributed to disciples. And so now we have all of these lineages. Many of them have gurus and other masters who have passed down specific techniques for attaining these kinds of states of awareness. But if as some of you know, sometimes these don't mix, and many lineages, traditional lineages of yoga and gurus and other enlightened beings with their own lineages will say that using any kind of plant medicine or psychedelic substance or anything that's outside of you is not permitted, it's not encouraged, and it's discouraged within these lineages. And why? Because ultimately these masters know and understand the limitation of anything that is outside of us. And so they are advocating for serious sadhana, which means spiritual practice, daily practice, to attain this kind of expanded awareness permanently as an abiding state. However, as many of you know, plant medicines and psychedelic assisted therapy are creating huge expansions of consciousness at a very rapid rate. And with the given state of our world, we need to improve ourselves quite quickly. And so that's part of why these things are emerging so quickly and throughout so many parts of the world, is there is an urgency around our evolution as a species of humanity. But in order to sustain the lessons and the understandings and the truths that we receive when we take any kind of medicine, we need a daily practice. And so this is what we are advocating for at Truth is One, is this dedication to sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice. And this has many different meanings, but in a general term, this is referring to basic practices of meditation, of pranayama, of yoga, of asana, but something that we can do every single day to become more conscious, to become more aware. And a lot of times these are sadhanas we can receive from a master, from a lineage, and we do these things every day over a long period of time to receive the fruits of these practices. And so that's really the most important message that we would like to share today, is how essential it is to have a meditation practice and to stick to it, because these things only bear fruit if they are attended to, as Patanjali says from the Yoga Sutras, over a long period of time, consistently, with faith and with devotion. This is how we can receive the fruits of sadhana. And while plant medicines and other psychedelic assisted therapies give us this expanded awareness, it will only be temporary. It will always be temporary unless we engage with these other practices, because anything that you take from outside of yourself will always be a temporary experience. But sadhana is creating this experience as an abiding state. And so when we work with various medicines and alongside with meditation, we are able to integrate these lessons so that we can reach this abiding state of consciousness permanently. Thank you all.